Hi, everyone. My name is Cassandra, and I'm on the College Greenlight team. Thanks for joining us for day 2 of the online College Block Party, a webinar series that celebrates first-gen college and underrepresented students on their way to and through college. We're live today with Emory, Washington University in St. Louis, and Tufts. We're thrilled to conclude our 2-part series featuring 3 dynamic workshops. Starting with Emory, to learn about what colleges are looking for in an application and how you can distinguish yourself in a competitive applicant pool. Next, Washington University in St. Louis will give us some tips for a successful college essay and how colleges similar to WashU use the essay to review applicants for admission. And finally, Tufts and a few current students are going to be presenting in Spanish, addressing concerns and questions about applying to college. So before we get started, just a few tips to get the most out of College Block Party. First is to use the live chat feature. I see a lot of you are already in there and saying hi. Hello, everybody. Feel free to introduce yourself and let people know that you're in the room. We want this to be nice and interactive. Second, if you have any questions for the presenters, use the Ask a Question button right at the bottom. There are no right or wrong questions to ask. But try to avoid any super personal questions like things about your GPA or test scores or your admissions chances specifically, because colleges can't provide the best answer without having your application in front of them. If you're curious at all about your admissions chances, you can always go to collegegreenlight.com and explore thousands of our college profiles with the What Are My Chances tools to learn more about your likelihood of admission. And finally, if you're joining us live, be sure to join the conversation on Twitter at #CollegeBlockParty20, and you can tag us at @CGreenlight. So now that we're ready to go, let's kick things off with Emory University. Please welcome Timothy Fields, the Senior Associate Dean of Undergraduate Admissions at Emory University. And we also have Farish German from Emory's admissions team joining us in the chat room to answer your questions as we go along. Welcome to the College Block Party stage, Tim.
Thank you very much. It's so wonderful to be here. So I want to thank College Greenlight first for having me, and then everybody for joining us for this presentation. I want to begin by saying that we don't have all the answers. The purpose of this presentation is to really kind of give you a sense of what colleges will be looking at, how COVID-19 is currently changing the college admission landscape, and then absolutely ways to make yourself stand out. So, as Cassandra said, please use the chat feature. My colleague Farish German is in there. There's a lot of kind of language and lingo that's used in the college admission field. And so if I say anything and you're like, what do you mean? I'm not clear. Farish will make sure to answer those questions for you. That, there are over 4,000 colleges and universities throughout the country, and each of them are adjusting to the individual needs of their institutions daily. As we are working through this, as we're figuring out things, as we're trying to see what's going to happen for the fall. So while I work at Emory University, I want to, make everybody clear that, what I say is not, just for Emory. I'm just kind of going to have very generalized statements that, are geared towards all the schools that you may be applying for. Some of you may be applying to state schools. Some of you may be looking at 2-year college universities. Some of you may be looking at selective schools. So the information that I'm giving here is just a very general. And one of the things that I will make sure to reiterate throughout this is that you as individuals need to do the research on the schools that you are looking for to find out how that school is adjusting to currently what's going on. So, and then, we just have to prepare for the unknown. What, we're planning in for right now for the fall absolutely could change. A lot of you are receiving notification about various testing options, about test dates being canceled. A lot of colleges, aren't currently open for visits. So all of these things are happening daily, and schools are reacting to them. And so you need to make sure to stay abreast of these things. Look at the various colleges and universities you're looking at so that you can, get a good sense of what's going on. Also, I'll go into this more in depth in a little bit. Admissions is a very cyclical process. We usually do things the same each and every year. But what COVID has done has forced us to reevaluate the whole process and how we go about looking at things. And so we'll talk about how schools are going to have to adjust to the curriculum. Schools are going to have to adjust to testing and all the various parts that schools are going to have to adjust to. But one of the first things is to know that schools are in reaction mode, and we're reacting and we're figuring things out. So, what is said is April may change in May, might be completely different in August. So we just ask all of you out there your patience and continue to, work with the schools and get a good sense of what's going on. And then the last thing that, I'll talk before I, transition into the meat of the program is that, all of higher education is adjusting to that. We're specifically talking about the application process, but the testing agencies are having to adjust to what is going on. They're used to having test sites that you can go, where proctors, all of a sudden, they have been catapulted into virtual spaces. So just know that it's not only college and universities are adjusting, there's testing agencies that are adjusting, how financial aid and all aspects of the college admission process is going to adjust, kind of given the fact that we currently, are just reacting to everything that's going on. So let's talk about the process. We can't just simply talk about the application because I really want everybody to understand what is really going on. So, I've worked in college admission over 15 years. And the way the process works, it starts with recruitment. So on a typical year in the fall, you may have somebody come to do a high school visit. You may have the opportunity to go to a college fair. There might be any number of events, flying programs that you can participate in to learn about those programs. So that is the recruitment part of it. And that goes on until probably the end of October. And then we begin the review at the application review portion of the application process, to where from October, November, December, January, February, a lot of schools are reviewing applications, and we're going to get into what we're reviewing, how we go about looking at those applications. And then once we review the applications, we send decisions out. You have gotten into your college, your dreams. Then all of a sudden you are able to have all sorts of yield programs. And historically, that's been, you can go visit a campus, you can participate in a tour. A college or university may come to your local town and they may have an event, so you don't have to travel. And all these programs are geared so, you can make these final decisions about the college or universities that you want, so you can make an informed decision feeling good about that. And then in the summer, we evaluate the process, say how much we can do that over and over again. For the time I've been in, it's been the same year over year over year. Now, all of a sudden, I don't know if I'll be able to go to any high school visits. I don't know if I'll be able to do any college fairs. I don't know. We have a flying program every year. I don't know if we'll be hosting that. So how we engage students in that process is going to be different. It is our hope that, we will be able to travel throughout the country. But as we can be aware, there will be limitations. How we go about engaging with students will be a little bit different. And the same is true for you all. So it becomes very imperative that, with the time you have now, to utilize resources like College Greenlight. I'll give out some information about NACAC later on, to where you are just, you Googling your favorite college or university and find out what is going to be available in the recruitment process. And then, once we get through that, and this is where I'm going to spend the bulk of the meeting, is the application review process. And so, one of the things I just really want to kind of begin is that we're all in this together. A lot of you, your high schools have gone to pass-fail options, and you have concerns over how will that pass-fail, will it make me look competitive? You are not able to have the same relationships with, high school guidance counselors, teachers, those people who are going to have to write your letters of recommendations. everybody's extracurricular activities have been affected in some form or fashion. So you're wondering, like, I was, slated to be all state in this sport, or I was going to be all state or first chair in the band, or I was going to work over the summer, and that was going to build up my resume to make me a more competitive applicant, and the many other factors that are going to influence your application. We are all doing this together. So, one of the things I like to tell students is, don't so much focus on the micro, what's happening at your individual school, but we need to get a better understanding what's happening on the larger scale. So, when students apply, everybody, for the most part, is going to be pass fail. So we're going to understand that in the reviewing of application, that students were pass fail for this time. We are going to understand that students may have not been able to develop the same relationships in the same way because they were not in school for a significant amount of time. We are going to understand that your extracurricular activities were affected, as was everybody else's. And so these are the things that, we want to make sure that you understand, that you are not being put at a disadvantage because everybody is going through that. And offices of admission are going to be very thoughtful in how we go about, looking at this, how we go about, evaluating applications, looking at what's going on. And so, partly what, the responsibility of you, the students, is to reach out, to ask, how's my application going to be reviewed? We were pass fail. Is that going to, factor into it? And what you're going to find is most college universities are going to say that's absolutely fine. It is okay. A lot of students are in that similar situation. So we want to make sure that that, because of what's going on, you are not going to be adversely affected in this process. You're not going to be looked at as less competitive because you weren't able to, have an A in a course, or you weren't able to participate in extracurricular activities, or teachers aren't able to write letters in the same way. So I want to just reassure everybody of that. And we're going to have opportunity in questions and answers where I'll definitely answer specific questions that you may have. But that begs the question, let's just talk a little bit about testing. There are a lot of things going on now. Each and every day, more schools are going to become test optional for the upcoming cycle. There have been many college and universities that have always been test optional. There are going to be college and universities who are still going to require testing in some form or fashion. And that's information that, college and universities are working on now. I can say, at Emory, we're hoping to, have something out to the public, very, very soon, so everybody can understand what is Emory's testing policies. And a lot of colleges and universities are doing that same thing. So that information will be coming to you, but you need to be on schools' mailing lists. You need to be, in communication on their websites, looking for updates. These are things that you need to be doing in your time as you begin your college search process. So, definitely you want to know, is my schools that I'm looking at, is it going to be test optional? Is it, going to be, they don't worry about tests at all? Are they still going to require tests in some form or fashion? And then how will those tests be evaluated? For many schools, testing, holds different weights. Says more, a lot of the more selective schools, it may hold more weight than some of the, state colleges, universities, community colleges, or various colleges. So you need to know, how does testing factor into that? Then also, which tests are you going to require? Do you require the SAT? Do you require the ACT? Are subject tests a part of the process? Is AP tests? These are all questions that you want to be sure that you know. And then once you find out, then you can, find out how you can go about, taking the appropriate test if testing is going to be required. Also, I, really think that students need to be very, diligent and very focused on what schools that they are applying to, because there are going to be limited test options. So if there is a school that is going to require subject test as part of the process, that you know what all are the schools, are all of them going to require this, or is the school just going to require just the ACT, the SAT, so that if you do have one opportunity to take that test based upon, you know, when the test is going to be offered, you know, all of the schools that you are applying to will take that test. So that is going to be very, very important. So, you know, I'm going to continue to reiterate this point that if at any other time in your high school career, it's going to be very important that you take the initiative to kind of, you know, be more involved in this college search process, because before, a lot of schools would appear before you. You'd have a college advisor, admission officer who's there saying, this is what you need. This is what we're going to look at. That may not be the case. So you're definitely going to have to look into that information. Just a little bit more about letters of recommendation. Different schools require letters of recommendation, but you know, a lot of the schools that apply look at letters of recommendation. They want to know who you are. They want to know about you. They want to know what you've overcome. So the relationships that you have with these individuals is very important. However, we're going to understand that if these relationships weren't able to be informed at the same level, you'll have that opportunity. Also, if schools require letters of recommendation, really they want somebody who has taught you during your high school career. So if you are closest with your 9th grade English teacher, your 10th grade math teacher, or teachers who have taught in other subject areas, you had that opportunity to have those people. So it doesn't have to be a junior year teacher. It doesn't have to be a senior year teacher. It needs to be somebody who can speak to who you are, your character, and you know, what you are going to add to that academic community that you are going to apply to. Also, I can imagine that, you know, a lot of colleges and universities are going to allow supplemental letters. So if you have somebody from your faith life, if you have a coach, if you have a manager, if you have other people that can speak to who you are, those opportunities will be available to you as well. So definitely, you know, want students to utilize those opportunities. And then what I would say, particularly for the juniors, the rising seniors out there, one of the most critical pieces that is going to be very, very important in this upcoming cycle is the essay. Essays are a critical piece of every college application for the schools that require essays. You'll have to look in and see which schools require essay supplements. But for the schools that do require essays, you know, what you say, how you present yourself is going to be very, very important. And now this is just my personal opinion. It is not, you know, on behalf of Emory. It's just somebody who has been in the field for a number of years. Next year, everybody is going to have a prompt about what did you do during the quarantine, during COVID-19? How did you utilize that time? My suggestion would be that you talk about, you know, how did you utilize your time? Did you reflect? Did you pick up a new hobby? Did you read some new books? How did it affect you as an individual? Not as, you know, from the standpoint of, oh, I couldn't go anywhere. Oh, I couldn't see my friends. Oh, I couldn't do that. But individually, how did you evolve during this period of time? How did you better yourself? You know, was it a very reflective period of time? Did you use the time to connect with your family? What is it that you did during this period of time that helped you become a very, very a different person, more in tune to this process? So essays are always very important, but everybody's going to talk about that they were in the house, that they couldn't do certain things, that they were limited in what they could do, that they missed all sorts of activities. Those are things that are going to be true across the board. But when applying, how are you different? What different happened to you that did not happen to anybody else? So next year, I know I'm going to read about 1,000 essays that are going to talk about, I couldn't leave the house. I couldn't, you know, participate in sports. I couldn't, you know, go out with my friends. A senior asked me to their prom. I couldn't go. Those are going to be stories that we're going to hear time and time and time again. However, what we're not going to hear is the personalization of what was going on in your life during these months. And that is what's going to really, you know, set your application apart. So I really want students to be very, thoughtful about that as you start thinking about it. And, the essay prompts will come this summer. But, what I have said and will continue to say in my time in the information sessions I give is what makes you distinct? What makes you unique? What differentiates you from all the other people that are applying? And at the most selected schools, those are the things that are going to make a difference in how competitive you are. Everybody, played sports. Everybody is first chair. Everybody, has all A's. Everybody, ran into some troubles here and there in high school and had to adjust. Those are stories that we see a lot of times. So we want to make sure that as we're reviewing applications and we see all these great students with great grades, with testing if it's required to submit it, with people talking about how wonderful they are, how are you different? So the essays are going to be very, very, crucial as a part of this process. Next, let's kind of go back and what are some of the different places that you can apply. A lot of schools throughout the country are on the Common Application. The Common Application is an application platform that allows you to apply to multiple schools. There may be supplemental questions for the individual schools, but you'll go and put your demographic information in and you'll be able to apply to a lot of schools. So that's one application platform called the Common Application. The other, another application platform is the Coalition Application. And the Coalition is similar to Common Application, allows you to apply to multiple schools throughout the country. But one of the things I will say about the Coalition applications are there are a couple schools in the country that only accept the Coalition application. So that will be the only the only application that you can apply to that school through. Then a lot of colleges and universities have their own individual application to where you will go to their website and you will fill out the individual application for that school. It won't be one like the Common Application or the Coalition where you can apply to lots of different places. So, as you're researching your schools, look at how can I apply to the schools. And then, we'll talk about meeting deadlines, also a very important part of it. Now, for a lot of you, you may already be part of the QuestBridge process. And QuestBridge is a national program that is partnered with about 40 colleges and universities that, want students, kind of wants to combat the idea of undermatching. And they want you to get into some of the most selective colleges and universities, and they're going to provide, 100% of financial aid, and they're going to support you. And so, if you're in that process, the QuestBridge application is another platform that you can apply through. And so, depending upon the schools or universities, there's the Common Application, there's a Coalition application. And if you are already part of the QuestBridge program and have applied to be a college finalist and through that program, you will continue to go through that QuestBridge. But for the most of you, you'll probably apply through the Common Application and also the Coalition application. So we want to make sure that students are looking, at that. All right. So how do you engage in this process? What should you be doing? So the first thing, a lot of you have smartphones. A lot of you, hopefully have access to computers. Look up the colleges that you're doing. Just go do a quick Google search and insert College X. See what the majors or minors are offered at that school. One of the things that, I, constantly tell students is, nobody knows what they want to do when they grow up. There's no such thing as an admission officer major. There's no major that I went to school to do this. My major was in psychology, but that evolved. And then ultimately I ended up at this place. So you don't know what you don't have to know what you want to do as you are coming into college, but you want to make sure you go to a college that has multiple offerings. So if you want to be an engineer and you want to be an engineer, then there are several great engineering schools throughout the country. But if you kind of want to be an engineer, but you maybe want to study economics, maybe want to study history, you may want to say, are there other options in the case that I change my mind and I no longer want to major in engineering? You want to make sure that those schools are offered to you. At the same time, if you want to study architecture, does that school first and foremost have architecture? You may want to go. They've won several national championships. I see them on ESPN. I want to, participate in, a big college rah-rah school. But if they don't have the major that you're looking for, it's probably not the best fit. So you want to make sure that you do that research upfront, as far as making sure that the opportunities are available, for you at that school. The next thing you want to do is, this is going to be a different time. A lot of us are used to email. We're used to texting. We're not used to picking up a phone. In this upcoming cycle, there is going to be a time where you need to pick up a phone. You need to call. You need to talk to somebody on the other end of that phone and hopefully get some answers. This is not as immediate as a text or an email. This may require you to be on hold. This may require you to be transferred from office to office. This may require somebody to call you back. Things are not going to be happening in the rapid pace that we are used to. But I think it's an important skill to pick up the phone, to call, and students to take the initiative to ask the questions of the things that you want to know. Next, and this is especially important depending upon what part of the country you are in, particularly, thinking about students in rural areas, students in, areas that are a little bit more outside of major metropolitan areas, is getting on mailing list. So in the case that, you want to get a brochure, you can have that mailed to your house, that those college and universities know that you're interested in, that they can get information to you. And so, we don't know if we're going to be able to visit a lot of places, and travel probably will be limited in the fall in some, capacity. So, college and universities won't be able to get as many places as they like. So it's going to be very, very important to get on those mailing lists, so those schools can get that information to you. Mail is still going out. Every day I see a FedEx truck, I see a UPS truck, I see US Postal Mail. All that information is going to go in there. And then, you want to, look through those brochures. You want to kind of see what their college or their majors and minors are. You want to get that information. So if you are not very, if you don't think, a college university will be able to make it to those areas, you definitely want to make sure you want to get on those college mailing lists. And then also utilize as resources. College Greenlight has a great resource in which they talked about, where you can find a lot about college and universities. You can get a sense of how competitive you will be at those schools. Also, the coalition has, a platform where you can learn a lot about college and universities as well. And then NACAC, if you go and download the presentation, you'll see NACAC has a site to where you can go and you can find out which college and universities are open for visits, which college and universities have already made decisions for the fall. And so you can get a sense of, hopefully if things progress to where we can get out a little bit more, to maybe you can go visit college and universities, and are those college and universities going to be available to you. So these are all resources that you may want. So if you go to the NACAC website, you utilize College Greenlight, you're already here. Definitely the coalition has those opportunities, and then going to individual schools and getting information is very important as well. So one of the other things is, like I said, it's uncertain what we will be doing. However, if you go to a college fair, to really reiterate what people tell us every day is, we might be moving away from the idea that, go up to somebody, give them a firm handshake and look in their eyes. We may, be at a college fairs, and it may no longer necessary to shake hands. And it's not looked at as, oh, you're being disrespectful. Oh, you're not, being courteous. It's just, here's a brochure. I'm happy to answer questions. We do not have to engage like that. College fairs, and then how you engage on campus. If we have on-campus programs, while a handshake is wonderful and it's a good way to introduce yourself to people, it may no longer be a part of things moving forward. So that's just something to keep in mind. The last thing that I want to say before we get into questions and answers, I want to, really, I see there are 38 questions, and I see Farish is answering a lot of your questions. I want to, make sure to reiterate that we're all in this together, that nobody knows the answers. When, I was, asked, would I be a part of this? I was very excited, to talk to so many students about the process, but it's very, very important to know that we are figuring things out, that we are daily trying to figure out how best we can serve students, how best we can level the playing field, how best we can reassure students that their application, giving everything that's going on, will be given fair review. We're going to take everything in consideration as far as what is going on, what, the 6 months leading up into your senior year look like. For those of you who are possibly first year students and sophomores, how that's going to look on your transcript. We want you to know that, this is going to be very, very important. We are being very thoughtful about this process, but also every college university is looking at, their core population. Who are the students applying? How can we support the students that are current there? How can we continue to grow the students that are applying to our schools? And they're making those decisions as far as what's best for their individual institution. So that's why it becomes very, very important that all of you take the time to begin to build that college list. Start to think about what are the similarities, what are the differences as you kind of think about that. And just know that we are going to take into consideration your curriculum, the changes that have taken place in that. We are going to, be very understanding about the limited options as far as testing, that not everybody may not have a space to test. Not everybody can maybe get a testing site. And there are going to be a lot of schools that testing is not going to be a requirement. And then your extracurricular activities, will be understanding of that. But your essays, and I just want to go back to that point, your essays are going to be very, very thoughtful, be very critical as far as how are you standing out? What happened during this period of time that, made you, that was individual to your experience? With that, I'm going to open up the questions and see what we have available to us. So the first one is, since we can't visit colleges we are interested in anymore, what should we do? Also, will the pandemic possibly affect tuition costs? Excellent question. So I will say that, the standard thing that I've been saying is going to affect a lot of schools in a lot of different ways. There's a business side of higher education. And, schools currently, by not being open, by not having people on campuses, and depending upon how the college university is set up, and, them continually have to pay employees, there is a cost to that. So, some schools will be in a place to where they won't increase tuition, and some, may have to. They will definitely, that is something that will definitely have to be looked into. And as far as what you should do is you should, go to those websites, see what opportunities are available. I know a lot of schools have virtual tours where you can go on and you can take a virtual tour of the campus. A lot of schools are offering virtual information sessions where you can go and you can sit and you can learn from a admission counselor about what is going on at that school and give an overview as you would if you were, at that college university. And then a lot of college universities are, utilizing their current students and allowing you to connect with current students. So you can go onto a college university site and you can say, hey, I'm thinking about majoring in psychology. There's a student majoring in psychology, and you can ask them those questions. So you can get that personalized experience that you are looking for. And then there's going to be a lot of visual virtual platforms like this that are going to be available to students. And, it's not as personal, it's not as being there, but the main thing is you want your questions answered and you want to get a sense of what that school can offer you. So excellent question. All right, so the next question is, for people unable to take the SAT, what factor of the application should admissions board be prioritizing? All right, excellent question. So one of the things that I often say, particularly, as it relates to application, I gave away several components. We talked about the curriculum. We talked about testing. We talked about extracurricular activities. We talked about letters of recommendation. We talked about the essay component. The most important part of your application is going to be your transcript. College is based upon how well have you done in high school, what classes did you take, and can you come here and come here and do well in the college and universities. We want to make sure that you are successful first and foremost. So your grades are always going to be the driving force. I tell students that how smart you are gets you into the room to have the conversation about being admissible. And once we establish you're smart and we're bright, then we want to begin to know who you are, how you've engaged, what do you do outside the classroom, what people are saying about you, what makes you unique. So your grades, how well you've done, what classes you have taken based upon what's available at your high school is always going to be the most important piece of the application. As I said, I've done this for numerous years. I know several people who have been presidents of organizations and who have, won all sorts of awards and accolades and had all sorts of leadership, but they haven't been consistent in the classroom and ultimately they didn't get in. But I've known a lot of very, very smart people who have got in because they are very, very smart. They've taken challenging courses and they have done well in the classroom. So, I definitely want you to continue to prioritize your grades and just know that for the most part, if you are at pass fail for a semester, that's one semester over the 8 or the multiple quarters that you have. So this is one small segment of your total high school experience. But what you've done, the classes you've taken, and how well you have done are going to be the driving factor. So we definitely want you to prioritize your grades and just know testing is just a small portion. But I want to continue to reiterate, a lot of schools are going to be test optional. They're going to be very sensitive to how students can access tests. So those are things that you definitely want to think of. All right. So how can I boost my application if I don't have a lot of leadership positions or internship? Wonderful. As I stated, a lot of students aren't able to have the summer to have internships. Maybe were slated to have leadership opportunities, but that didn't happen. So how do you boost your application? One is continuously to let us know who you are through the essay prompts, to be thoughtful and to tell your story. Storytelling is going to be very, very important as far as getting to know who you are. In the absence of not being able to do something for a semester and maybe, be limited in what you can do in the fall, there's this opportunity to talk about, how you have grown as an individual. What does not participating in that, has that helped you? How has it helped you to pivot and refocus and grow and continue to evolve? Those are things. So, just don't get in this places like, woe is me, I don't have this, because one door has closed, but a wealth of opportunity to tell another part of the story, to tell about how you've had to recreate yourself, how you've had to pivot, how you've had to, try new things that you haven't done. All of a sudden, those are opportunities that allow you to tell a story that make your application, a lot more competitive. So, do not worry about, a lot of accolades on your application. We want depth. We want to know who you are. We want to know how you are going to engage in this process. So those are going to be the things that are going to help you stand out. All right. All right, let's see what other questions we have. What sort of opportunities should we look at over summer? COVID-19 has pushed everything online. Should we even look at summer programs? If so, what keywords should we look at? So a lot of the summer programs aren't going to happen. And so, just kind of go back to the point I just made. How will you utilize your time? What are some of the things that you can do at home as far as preparation, thinking about, what you're going to do in the fall when you go back to high school. So while you may not have the summer programs that are available to you, there are other opportunities for students to be engaged, to be involved, to find ways that you can be involved in different things. And so you won't be at a disadvantage because, like I said, everybody else is in that similar place to where they don't have opportunities. They kind of get with the COVID situation, there are no large gatherings. So there aren't going to be any summer camps. A lot of colleges and universities are going to continue to be closed throughout the summer. So it's just not you. It's a lot of other people who are going to be in this place. But how you respond to that and what you do with the time based upon what's available to you is going to be very important. All right. A quick question. Somebody asked, does Emory track demonstrated interest? No, we do not. So that is a very important question that you may want to ask college or university that you're interested in. And it needs to be just that forward. Do you track demonstrated interest? And if you do, what counts as demonstrated interest? Some schools just look at emails. Some schools say, did you visit? Some schools, are you on their mailing list? So there are any number of ways that schools that do track demonstrated interest look at it. And so you want to make sure you know how they're tracking demonstrated interest kind of moving forward. All right. Let's see. What are the best ways to get and apply for scholarships? College Greenlight has a lot of scholarship opportunities and links that are available on their website. But, you may want to go look and see what college universities scholarships are available. Emory has a scholarship that if you apply by November the 15th of your senior year, you can be a part of. I know, a lot of large state schools have scholarships. There are also online programs that have scholarships. So you want to kind of look into all of those. Also, just know, financial aid is a separate process, and there's some opportunities at this block party to learn about the financial aid process. But just also know that applying for financial aid is very, very important because a lot of colleges and universities have a great deal of money that they're going to have available to you. So you want to look at scholarships at individual universities. You want to look at scholarships online through, nonprofit and civic organizations. So you want to look at as many scholarships as you can. And while a lot of people are going to look at the big scholarships, the Coca-Colas of the world, there are several $500, $100, $1,000 scholarships out there that go unclaimed every year. So you want to, with this time you have, over the summer, you may just want to start doing research on these scholarship opportunities that are going to be available to you. So excellent question. All right, let me see. Do colleges anticipate families not to send students in fall 2001 if there's no vaccine? I hear families do not want to pay for distance learning. It happens in the fall. How does that affect the class of 2021 admission at all? So right now, we are hoping everything gets better and it will have no effect on the class of 2021. Right now, colleges are just being very thoughtful with safety and public health driving the decisions that they are going to make. And a lot of schools are allowing students to defer. So if you were accepted to a school and you don't want to do online learning, you can wait until the spring and you can enter into the spring, or you can wait an entire another year and wait into the fall. So you have those options. And so for the class of 2021, that won't have any effect. I think a lot of college and university will continue to have the same number of people coming in. If anything, it may create a lot more opportunities. So where schools said, okay, I'm having a class of 1,500, given everything that's going on, the following year, they've said, you know what, we may need a class of 1,700. So it may actually open up more seats for students, depending upon what's going on. So currently what's going on for this year and the students who are graduating, entering the fall, will more than likely have no big effect on what's happening with class of 2021. All right, excellent questions. I'm enjoying this. Do you think there will be a possibility of colleges not charging application fees due to financial issues brought on by COVID-19? I have a saying that I live by: a closed mouth does not get fed. Prior to COVID-19, you can a lot of times just ask a college or university, can you waive my application fee? And many of them will. So, while, a lot of families are affected, I think a lot of times, prior to this, colleges were very sensitive to students and what and their families were going through. So, I would say that ask that question. A lot of college and universities will openly waive the application fee outright, but various colleges do things in different ways. But, that is a question that I would be sure to ask any college or university that you're interested in. Given the current situation, can you waive my application fee? And a lot of times you will get the answer that you are looking for. All right. Is it possible to submit unofficial grades if our official transcript has been changed to pass, fail? Excellent question. Absolutely. A lot of schools, are very understanding about what's going on. And so you can submit unofficial grades. You can submit unofficial test scores, because we want to get the information. We want to be able to evaluate the application. We really do not need the official documents until you have been admitted and it's time to enroll. So at Emory, there were several students that, sent unofficial test scores, that sent unofficial transcript, and we reviewed those. However, they will not be able to be admitted into Emory and come in the fall until we receive official testing and transcripts. So while during the application process, you can send unofficial documents, you will need those official documents in order to, officially enroll in that institution. And like I said, this varies from institution to institution on what documents they'll take unofficial, when they'll take them. So those are individual questions that you want to ask individual schools, but a lot of schools, given the situation, are definitely, open to, taking unofficial documents. So that is a wonderful question. Let's see, what other questions do we have? So there's a question: how many universities do you recommend maximum for students to apply? This is going to vary based upon individuals, but I would say, you should begin to put together a college list and begin at about 20 schools that you are interested in, 20 schools that you think you have a chance in getting in, 20 schools that you could see yourself going to those schools. Then throughout the process, do some research. Go individually. A lot of students go on and make an Excel file, and they put pros and cons about the schools, and then that they narrow down that list. Because of the cost of application fees and other things, I don't recommend the students apply to more than 10 schools, but that is up to the individual and the families. So, I would say, 10 schools that you feel good about, that you could see yourself going to, and, submitting those applications if you can get fee waivers. But, if, say application fee is $50, 10 schools, that's $500. That's a lot of money. So you may want to be very thoughtful about which schools you want to apply for. But I would say, have at least 10 schools that you are interested in, prioritize those schools. Think about, can I see myself at the school? Is there a realistic chance of me getting in these schools? And then, narrowing down your list from there. So I would say at a minimum of 4 schools, 10 would be a good number. But if you want to apply to more schools based upon your individual situation, then I definitely would encourage that. But I would say don't apply to any school that you don't feel that you could see yourself at. There's a limited amount of time and it takes a lot to put together a college application. So be very thoughtful. If you want to go to the school, if you say this is my dream school, then go for it. But if you say, you know what, I probably don't want to go there, it's far away from home, but let me just submit it anyway, you could utilize your time much better than that. So we want to make sure we are utilizing our time. We have a couple more questions, and then we're coming to the end of our time. Can you get scholarships for community service? Absolutely. There are several community service scholarships out there available to you. So, definitely I would, definitely encourage students to go to that. Yes. Is it possible to put on our AP scores on our college applications? Excellent question. All right. So this is when I'm going to hop on my soapbox. If you have taken AP tests, if you have taken subject tests, if you have taken SAT or ACT, all right, there's 2 types of information that you put on a college application: required information and information that makes you look absolutely wonderful. If it does not fall into those 2 categories, do not submit it. So what do you mean, Tim? So at Emory, we do not require AP scores as far as the college application. If you scored a 5 on an AP exam, by all means, submit that information. If you scored a 4 on an AP exam, submit that. However, if you scored a 95 in AP US history and you scored a 2 on the exam, I don't need to know about the 2. Keep it a secret. All I care about is that you made a 95 in the course. So if you do want to put AP scores and the school does not require it, if they do not require subject tests, find out what is a competitive score for that school. Some schools take 3s, 4s, and 5s as far as AP credit. That's the information that you want to put on. But if you just had a bad day and you didn't do well and you scored a 1 on an AP test, do not put that on your college application. It is not making you stand out. It is not making you look competitive. If you scored 3, that's absolutely fine. But I would say, ask what the requirements are for the school. So for Emory, we only take 4s and 5s. So you can put a 3 on there, but it's not adding to your application. So I would say if you scored a 3 and you're applying to a place like Emory or more selected schools, don't worry about the 3. But if there are colleges that are accepting 3s, 4s, 5s, put that on there. But those are things that you want to ask the individual question. All right. So I think I have time for one more question. Thank you all for submitting these. Do I, Cassandra?
Oh, yeah. Take one more.
Okay. All right. So there's one, and I'm glad this is a good one to end on. I started thinking about flying programs, particularly for underrepresented students. How will those work? It is, the hopes of all colleges and universities that we will be able to have flying programs in the fall, that you'll be able to come to our college and universities, get a good sense about what your experience will be on that college campus. But right now, we do not know. So College Greenlight has a great platform where they are, they'll tell you about all the college flying programs throughout the country. You can go to the individual websites, but definitely in the absence of flying programs, there will be several virtual opportunities to speak with current students from those college or universities so that you get a sense of the community. So thank you for that question and all the wonderful questions you submitted.
Okay, awesome. Timothy, any last words of wisdom or thoughts before we close you out?
I would just close on just knowing we're all in this together. We are all at home together. We are all missing out on a lot of wonderful things because of that, but we want to remain safe. Just know nobody is at a disadvantage because of what's going on, because this is happening to everybody. So whether you're pass fail, whether or not you weren't able to take a test, you weren't able to participate in extracurricular activities, it is absolutely going to be fine. You are all going to be competitive. We are all going to take those things in consideration, and we can't wait to read the excellent applications that you put forth for all our college and universities. So thank you for having me, and thank you, CapEx and Greenlight, for this great opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Timothy, and thank you to everybody for all of your great questions. Now, audience, before we move on, do us a favor. Emory did include a post survey at the bottom. There should be a little complete feedback survey button. Should take about 2 minutes. Tell us your thoughts. And once you're done with that, stick around, because in a couple of minutes, we have WashU's presentation to talk about how to write a successful essay for colleges and scholarships. So we're going to get ready to keep the merriment going. And thank you to Farish in the comments for continuing the conversation and answering everybody's question. As you guys are taking that survey, if you're still here with me, College Greenlight's Summer Challenge Scholarship does start this Friday. So we're starting to accept applications starting this Friday. You can find the information about the scholarship on your Greenlight account in College Greenlight Scholarships starting on May 1. So as we suggested, having a number of colleges on your list, 10 colleges and things like that. If you guys are looking for an easy scholarship, it's a great way to not only start building your list and make sure that you're nice and organized, but also you have a chance to win one of 2 $500 scholarships from College Greenlight. So mark your calendars for Friday. Check that out in your College Greenlight account. You need a Greenlight account in order to apply, but it's super easy. Add 5 colleges to your list, participate in 3 college online virtual tours, and add 5 scholarships to your list saying that you're going to apply, and you are golden. Click the apply button and you're ready to go. You can do that in one day, and it enters you for a $500 scholarship.